Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the webinar Educational Technologies and International Cooperation.
Now, I would like to invite, just a second, Professor Nawel Abdellatif Mami, and she works in Algeria at the Setif II University as a Vice Chancellor for External Relations, Cooperation, Animation, Communication, and Scientific Events. She has a long experience in cooperation, international research, and project development management. She works with questions related to education, internationalization, global citizenship, human rights, IT in education, and artificial intelligence in human sciences. Professor Nawel, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. I'd like also to thank the group, the Coimbra Group of Brazilian Universities. I'm very pleased to be part of this session, which deals with a very important topic as well, and sharing it with my colleagues from different parts of the world. I'm going to share my screen. And in fact, I think that speaking about educational technology in international cooperation perspective is an up-to-date topic since the pandemic 19. There were some initiatives and some things which have been done prior to that, but coming from a year and a half of experience, I believe that now we can think more seriously about developing educational technology in the field of higher education in general, and also in international cooperation more particular. But before starting to speak about educational technology, we need to know the difference between educational technology and technology education. I don't know if it works with you, the PowerPoint, because here I think that it is a little blocked. Does it work? So we need to make a difference, I believe, between educational technology and technology education, because educational technology is the use of technology in and for education. Whereas if we speak about technology education, it is learning about technology and the use of technology in general. And this is very important to distinguish, because when we speak about how to use technology in education, this becomes a new paradigm and a new shift in matter for education and higher education in general. Thus, educational technology is a dynamic, evolving field. And as such, it is a need, it is a must in order to identify and map research patterns in this field. For this, we need to talk about a systematic approach in educational technology. Educational technology has been evolving through different stages within the field of education. And at the very beginning, there has been identified the age of instructional design. And here there has been a focus on the content, how the content should be designed from an educational technological point of view, or using technological tools in order to convey the lecture, the message appropriately to the student. Then the second system, or the second stage, was the age of message design. We all know that we need to choose the appropriate format when we are using technology in education. Having a face-to-face teaching is not the same as when we have a virtual or a distance learning. So in order to use educational technology here, we need to focus on the format that we are going to use in our teaching environment. The third stage, or the third age, is the age of simulation. And here, this is a focus on the interaction and on the interaction that we create between the teacher and the students. And finally, what we have witnessed now, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, is what we call the new age of educational technology, which is the age of research on the focus of the learning environment. And when we say the focus of the learning environment, it is the focus of the learning of the students, taking all the components of their students, regardless of their origin, of their language, of their race, of their gender. We need to create a learning environment which will fit to all in a learning situation when using the technological tools. Thus, in order to arrive to that, major research domains within the frame of educational technology have been arising. The first one is technology integration. And here we have to think of how to integrate technology in higher education. And this has been calling for means, for budget, for a lot of efforts from the institutional and governmental level in order to integrate technology. The second step, which was also very important, is the acceptance and the attitudes of emerging technologies. And here, some of the teachers at the very beginning were not accepting to use technologies in their teaching, asking them to reinvent or their methods or their methodology while using technology was something a little bit difficult at the very beginning. And finally, the third domain of investigation is the learning environment. As such, technology can be regarded as a tutor, it can be used as a tutor, as a teaching aid, and as a learning tool. And from the three components or the three categories of technology, the most important that we speak about, especially when speaking about international cooperation, is creating educational technology as a learning tool. Thus, educational technology in higher education should deal with different aspects and should also matter so much as a means of social mobility. It should be also an engine of economic growth and also a defender of democracy. And these are three main principles of higher education through which educational technology should serve. The student in higher education is no more an 18 years old teenager chauffeured by his mother or father to the school. Things have evolved and shifted. Instead, the new normal student that we see now in our universities may be a 24-year-old enrolling in continuous education, a 36-year-old mother, a part-time student juggling work in college, doing many things at the same time, or the first-generation college student. The new generation of our students today in higher education is not limited by race, by age, by income, by zip code, disability, or any other factor. We are speaking about a generation resulting from internationalization. Thus, what may be needed for the new norms and for the new normal higher education student is a broader ecosystem and broader ecosystem opportunities to learn within both traditional institutions and new providers, underpinned by a digital infrastructure which allows our students today to create, recognize, and value quality learning experiences wherever and whenever they are. This is really not the matter, but they should be having rewards on the expertise they develop within and outside of normal institutions over their lifetime and over the cities where they are every time. Our students, in brief, today are digital age learners. They shifted from a typical student taking notes in a classroom to this, to students who are 100% digitalized, using digitalization tools and ICTs everywhere, even when taking notes with a teacher. A student who is international now is a student who has evolved with new technologies. Our students now have become international even at home, because we are now speaking about internationalization at home. And this is the example that I am going to focus on as an experience of CETIF2 University. From here comes the concept of internationalization at home, and in this respect, educational technology plays a very important role. It is needed to enhance this concept of internationalization where the students are sitting in their chairs, in their homes. It can only be developed through cooperation. In an effort to meet the needs of these types of learners that we have cited priorly, new programs and new providers of education have begun to emerge. And these programs cannot be done without partnership with institutions. And here comes the role of international cooperation. Cooperation became essential in offering new models of learning opportunities, such as industry-aligned, job-based training programs, online learning that we are all using nowadays, short-term boot camps, and competency-based education. But all these kinds of opportunities and learning opportunities have in common the need to use educational technologies. How do then educational technologies serve international cooperation? In a constructivist way, technology helps. It helps the learner build more personal interpretations of life in his or her world. Technology is also a learning tool to learn with, not to learn from. It is not a source, it is not an end, but it is a tool through which we can create the learning. It makes the learner gather, think, analyze, and synthesize information and construct meaning with what technology presents. It can be a very good opportunity for them to open up, to delimit, and to recognize that stereotypes are very often not true, and that openness to intercultural dialogue is most essential. In this sense, it goes in line with the philosophy of mobility and international cooperation. In order to develop this sense of mobility, we need to look at some approaches and dimensions of international cooperation through which we can build educational technology. If for some reason the universities now are not really building up on educational technologies, they can take advantage from all their experiences. And I believe I have been listening to my colleague from Goa University. I think that most of us here have some experiences in international cooperation. It is right time now to develop educational technology experiences on what we already have developed. International cooperation is a process. It is a process by which the educational provision of education system becomes more sophisticated. It can be enriched. It can be broadly applicable to students from backgrounds and different countries. Here, it emphasizes especially the possibility of developing programs which can be international, which can be cross-cultural, and at the same time compatible. And here I am speaking about the system of equivalence of the different programs and recognition of credits between universities. The infrastructure that we have on international cooperation also provides all the students with experiences and training which can be necessary to develop skills for life in a world which is now characterized by increasing international exchange. For this, and in this sense, we need to integrate intercultural dimensions into the teaching, into the research and service functions of the institution. And this can aim also at making higher education more responsive to the needs and to the requirements that are challenging the world now, especially from a globalized market. When including all these dimensions and taking them into consideration to develop educational technology, this leads to the inclusion of international dimensions holistically and not as parts. We can look at them as a one structure where the whole is more important as the sum of its parts. And this will help us enhance quality of teaching and learning and to achieve the desired competencies. For this, we need also a background of educational technology with international cooperation. This background, again, can be built on the higher educational institution's history. We all have a history. We all have an internationalization strategy that we have developed. We take advantage from these in order to use the diversity partnerships that serve, but that cannot serve alone, because we need to move on to a higher level of intervention, where we should not only be the receivers and recipients, but we should also play a proactive role in this dissemination and on this practice of internationalization. This will help us bridge the world in the context of globalization and to achieve more developmental goals while discussing educational technology. University cooperation, as such, can be an effective instrument of integrating these new tools. On the other hand, there should be an involvement in developing cooperation of more developed strategies which work on the development of educational technology, because educational technology cooperation in higher education is getting into a give and take. It is a win-win basis where we do give back, and what is given back is shared, and what is shared is knowledge. This knowledge is produced and distributed, and it will be a unique production of knowledge, different, distinct, but common to all. Then this academic exchange among all these exchanges that I am explaining can be academic. But this academic exchange should shift from the traditional focus of cooperation, where students and foreign students are coming from one country to another, and where lecturers and professors are conducting teaching classes. But the exchange should also develop in a sense to benefit mutual development of educational technologies and using educational technologies in this sense. So educational technology cooperation has already produced some results. And this is what we have seen thanks to the pandemic within 1.5 years. But more efforts should be done. Some programs and departments of higher education have made their names internationally through this type of educational technology use by developing some programs. Further, with the support of universities, the higher education systems have also been able to approach the new ideas of educational technology, such as the Erasmus Plus virtual program. The Erasmus Plus virtual program is a new opportunity, a new challenge that has been experienced by the University of Sétif as pilot study, which is initiated by the European Commission. And the Erasmus Plus virtual program has been, University has been integrated in that program thanks to a cooperation with the UNIMED. The UNIMED is a network of universities of the Mediterranean. We have been very active in 2 different actions. The first action was cultural encounters, and the second one was the newcomers and nationalism. In this experience, the F project was under the supervision of the Vice Rectorate of External Relations. There has been a focal point which was appointed. Call for application was launched by the university, and the students were identified for the first 2 courses. The specificity of this course and its link to the educational technology is that it was an internationalization at home. All the students practiced internationalization, but in their own university, meeting different people from different countries all over the world and speaking about different topics. As a result, 63 students completed the course out of 80. 3 ambassadors from Sétif University were kept out of 5. There were 7 proposed, 5 were kept, and 3 from them were from the students of Sétif University. As a result, there was the signature of 2 memoranda of understanding, and Sétif University became the first Algerian university to adapt the program successfully, including educational technology. The first group of EVE students, you can see it here, these were the students who have successfully completed the course. How could be this successful? In Sétif University, EVE was an institutional project. It has been adopted by the university, seriously adopted, although there were some resistance from some of the teachers. Follow-up was permanent and students were tutored for the courses. Assistance was provided when necessary, especially when technical problems linked to internet connection were raised. And students were also invited to testimony on good practices. However, there were some difficulties when applying the program. 2 major difficulties, mainly losses in students through the program lifespan were not manageable because it was a first experience. Themes and topics were not often interesting to a number of students, and wrong expectations to benefit from an international mobility was not often the case. This has created some loss among the students. But we have now created future actions to strengthen this program. The first one is to encourage, of course, and to build more reliable educational technology tools by planning to make the EVE program an embedded learning in the students' curriculum, to negotiate also possible attributes of credits, to give advantage to EVE students while applying for international mobility, and to work closer with the facilitators to disseminate the program. This has helped a lot in the cooperation, because this program, using educational technology in cooperation, gave the students more confidence while interacting in public. It improved their English language speaking competencies, eliminated a number of stereotypes, enhanced intercultural understanding, and gave them a chance to practice internationalization at home. It has really helped them to develop essential skills and behaviors which are required, such as curiosity and collaborative virtual learning. The experience, the EVE experience, was very successful. And what should be done further now, as just recommendations before the end, is to enrich educational programs and increase the diversified programs in educational technology. EVE was a very good experience in order to help us improve our educational technology tools, establish a compatible system of credits, promote intercultural understanding, and increase opportunities. Educational technology helps encourage academic exchange through educational activities, technical assistance, and extracurricular activities. By the end, in order not to overstep the time which has been allotted, cooperation during and post-COVID-19 now is different. Different approaches are being taken by countries, by the universities as well. From each another, cooperation is to mitigate the effects of the pandemic and maybe even build better experiences. After more than 12 months, it is now important for education authorities to begin planning a new strategy and treat the learning gaps that have emerged during the crisis, even with the use of the educational technologies. Finally, educational technology has proven efficient to some extent and is now the future of a shifting generation. So as Winston Churchill says, never waste a good crisis. Thank you very much.
And for the Professor Nowell, then someone here was very interested in about how can find more information about the EVE program. I think, do you have anything that to give to them, maybe a web link or something else?
Yes, of course. There is a web page directly linking to the EVE program. I will share it now in the chat about the discussion, and they can have it. It is, or write simply Erasmus Plus virtual program, and there will be all the information first in the website, the official website of the European Commission, and also in the website of the university, of my university. I will share with you the link right now in the chat.
Oh, thank you. It was a short question. Maybe I could also add another one here. And people say that we was saying about the use of technology in education. And I think sometimes it may be very expensive. And also Professor Aparachta mentioned this. And also you mentioned that you could include new groups like mothers, older people, and so on. And how do you think this new technology is available for these people with low income families, and also for these other groups like older people and so on? Do you think that they are building new technology or building new tools that will include these groups too?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Well, in fact, there are two questions in one. So the first answer could be yes, educational technology can be very expensive. And like in the case in India, and I believe that in many other places in the world, there should be some efforts from governments in order to make this affordable. because in some regions there can be no access to internet connection. And I have also mentioned that in my presentation. For example, what we are doing here at the university, apart from the EVE program, there are also other programs where the students study on distance learning. And some of these students are the category of refugees. So we offer to them some courses online. What the university does is to bring the students to the university, and it is the university which affords the expenses of internet, because they cannot do them in the refugee camps. So we have a schedule where the students come to the university, they have a class special for them, and they follow their lectures and courses from the university, where we give them all the support necessary. Also here in Algeria, for example, the students have, they can be affordable access to internet in a lower expense or in a lower price, in order to help them follow the lectures and do the classes accordingly. Some efforts are done, but I can say that they are not enough. More efforts must be done, not only for students at the university, but also for pupils at schools, because through the COVID-19 pandemic, the blended learning or the distance learning has been a must for everyone. And some of the pupils at home were in need of these lectures, but they could not afford them. For the other category, as a second answer, I have explained that now in the university, we can see different categories of students. We do not only have students who are 18 years old, who have finished their baccalaureate exam and enrolled at the university, but we can find mothers who have decided to join back classes. We can find some people who are having a work or a job and at the same time coming to the university. So to these different categories of people who are joining now the university, we need to adapt our measures by using educational technology, because some of them who are having to work during the day, who go to their job during the day and have classes, we can use some recorded videos, recorded classes, using educational technology in order to help them follow their lectures and get their degree. But this is just the beginning. We have witnessed some progress, but we need to go further in developing this technology to make it affordable for everyone. Thank you.
So following the same order, Professor Noel, what would you say about the role of the lecturer in the situation? And if you could just add something about to our audience, how is it going on in Algeria? Were the schools closed for a long time? Are they closed now? How is it going on?
Yeah, thank you. So I start by the last question to give you a situation, an overview about how Algeria is going on now. So from the beginning, on the 12th of March 2020, there was a total closure of all the schools and the university. It was a total panic because nobody knew how the pandemic would arise and how could the situation be. So the government decided to close everything. The frontiers, the borders, the schools, the universities. For about a month, it was kind of a loss. Nobody knew what to do. People had to stay at home. The minimum service had to be ensured, and everything turned out to a digital work. After a month, some measures have started to be taken by the government from the school, the educational level, both at the level of schools and at the level of the university. Maybe the situation in Algeria will be quite a little bit different from that of India, because in Algeria, the government, even without the pandemic, finances the education 100% and gives at 100%, meaning that higher education is fully financed by the government. The students get a scholarship, either Algerian students or foreign scholars. They do not have to pay anything while coming at the university. Food is for free, transport is for free, the campus access is for free. So the government gives all the aid necessary to all the students, be they Algerians or foreigners. From that perspective, the government, following the same line, gave the aid to all the students in order to merge and to switch to a blended learning by giving them access to platforms. The Ministry of Higher Education has established a special platform and gave access to both students and teachers. For the teachers, how did they behave? The first thing they did was a training of trainers. The ministry has ensured a training to all the teachers in order to help them involve and insert their lectures in the platform. And most of the teachers were not trained of how to ensure that kind of digital learning. So all of them got a special training from specialists. And then they had to include and put their lectures in the platform. And they have also been given a schedule in order to accompany the students. This was a very first step because no one was allowed to come to the university. Until the month of September 2020. In the month of March, there was a partial opening of the schools and the universities. And the students had to come through groups. For example, the first group will study at the university for a month. They will be the students of the first year bachelor and the second year masters. When the first group studies in class, they will finish the month, they go back home and resume blended learning. It is the role of the second group of students. And this is how we proceeded in order to ensure that the students will have a face-to-face contact with the teachers and at the same time follow all the lectures through the platform. From the part of the resources, because the question is also about how the teachers get the resources, the Ministry of Higher Education in Algeria pays and finances a platform called SNDL. This platform is a platform where all the resources all over the world are included in the platform. All the books or the articles, all the scientific material which is needed by both the teachers and the students is in there. Every student has a code number and every teacher has a code number in order to access the platform. There is absolutely no problem in getting the resources, and it is the Ministry of Higher Education which finances the platform every year. I must say it is very huge money which is put in place in order to keep up with the lectures, with the scientific research, even before the COVID-19 pandemic. So this has been very beneficial during the crisis, and it is now getting more strength because we have figured out that blended learning is really beneficial for the students since we have very huge number of students at the university. In Sétif 2 University, for example, which is a university specialized in social and human sciences, we have 31,000 students. So this blended learning has helped in order to easing the number of the students which is at the university, and it is starting to get more beneficial and positive results, but a more appropriate strategy needs to be thought for the future because this is just the beginning. We hope that the pandemic will disappear, but I think that the methodology that we have and the strategy that we have established will continue even after the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Professor Nowell.
Thank you very much. I think my last word would be to say that this was a very interesting webinar and the topic as well. I just would like to thank each and every one of you. I'd like to thank my friend Rosanna for this invitation. I hope that we will have the opportunity to deal with other topics as well. It was a real pleasure to listen also to my colleagues, Professor Aparajita and Professor Glenn. I would like to thank also the chair who has done a very good job by leading this session. Thank you, everyone. And also the people behind the scenes, Giovanna and Vinicius, for all the hard work they're doing every time. Thank you and be safe. And I hope to see you again soon and in presence and not virtually as well. Thank you.